Kings Media Day coming up on Monday. Of course, we'll be out there at Golden One, myself and Ramie, for a live broadcast, 3 o'clock to 4:30, leading you into Monday Night Football's pregame right here on Sactown Sports. Plus, you can listen the next morning on Tuesday to the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross for exclusive interviews and content from Media Day as well. So we are excited here at Sactown Sports, getting ready for the basketball season, officially into the football season now. A lot to cover, a lot to talk about. And let's jump to the Kings, and let's jump to Domantas Sabonis. So ESPN came out with their top 100 rankings, and Sabonis was ranked 47th. And I saw our friend Cam Salerno of the Sacramento Bee tweet this out. And it got me thinking, and I wanted to ask you the question, Ramie. So Cam tweets out, Sabonis is underrated nationally. He was ranked 47th by ESPN and 50th by CBS Sports in the top 100. There were only 2 centers last season who averaged over 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Sabonis and 2-time league MVP Nikola Jokic were the only 2. Ramie, do you think Sabonis is underrated nationally?
Maybe just slightly. I don't feel as strongly about it as our guy Cameron does, because I'm just, and I'm not going to read off every name. That's bad radio, but I'm going down the list of this ESPN rankings where they had him around 50. And there aren't many guys that are ahead of him where I go, come on, man.
Yeah.
Sabonis is a better player than him.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know what the numbers say, and 18 points, 12 rebounds, only 2 centers did that last year. But I think we're still at a point with Sabonis. And you know what? To be fair, there's a couple of guys on the list that are ahead of him that I could say the same thing about, but we're still at the point where it's like, show me. You know what I mean? I can see what he's capable of and what he can be, but show me that you're going to take that next step and prove to me that what we've seen to this point is real and can be reproduced consistently. And then show me that there's another level and the arrow is still pointing up for Sabonis. Do that, and I might get on the bandwagon of Sabonis is underrated. Right now, I would say maybe slightly. You can move them up 3 to 5 spots on these lists if you really wanted to dig and
if you wanted to nitpick.
Yeah. But that's really not much when you're talking about a list of the top 100. We're talking about maybe he's off by 3 to 5 spots.
I want people, if you're driving, don't do this. But I want you to close your eyes and think about if we jumped back to 1995. Right? We're back in 1995, and we're watching the NBA in 1995.
Okay. Oh, those are good times.
How much higher do you think Sabonis is ranked back in 1995?
Oh, in that style
in that era,
play?
Is he a top 30 guy? JJ, is he a top 30 guy in the mid 90s? Sabonis. I'm not talking about the guys who were playing at that. I'm talking about his style of basketball. 2-time All-Star. 20 points, 12 boards, 5 assists.
Can I open my eyes yet?
Yeah, you can open them.
Okay.
Are you driving, Ramie?
No. Okay.
Fortunately not. Is he a top 30 guy?
Man, I'm in 95. I'm going to say no.
Is he better than 47?
Probably. The center was a bigger part of the big men were more valued back then than they are today.
That's my point.
Count it. We don't want to do a list, but you got Patrick, you got Akeem, you got his father.
Right.
David Robinson, you got Shaq. He's probably a top 10 center, maybe.
In the center, though, the center position, right? If we don't break it down name by name, the center position, as Ramie just said, back in 95, the 5 meant a lot more, right? So you might have 10 to 12 centers in the top 30 to 35 because the center was more emphasized. As the game has evolved, the old school center has been de-emphasized. Why do you think we see all of these videos with Sabonis over the summer working on his jump shot and working on a shot from 3? Because that's where the game has gone. So when you evaluate talent, you can talk about numbers and you can talk about what the guy does individually, but you also have to add the context of what does the era of basketball mean? What does it emphasize? What it emphasizes big dudes who can shoot, big athletic dudes who can defend both, they can play both ends of the floor. And as good as Domantas is, and trust me, Domas, he's a 2-time All-Star. He's a very good basketball player. And I still like him being on the Kings, and I still don't mind the deal. However, in the proper context, if you're picking teams and you're picking guys off the list, you're not going to pick a guy who is 6'11", not super athletic, is not a very good defender, and is the most, impactful in the paint. You're more looking for wings and bigs who can shoot, and then probably guards. So I don't think he's underrated at all. I mean, to say that he's a top 50 player with his type of game, I actually think is a compliment. Because the fact is, not many dudes play his style of basketball. And even when you look at Jokic, and I understand what Cam is doing, but when you look at Jokic, first of all, I don't think Cam is saying Domas is anywhere near the player as Jokic. But when you look at Jokic also shoots. Jokic does shoot from distance.
Yep.
So he has a little bit more to his offensive game than Domas.
If he adds that element to his game, even just on to be an average mid-range and outside shooter, I think a lot more people will be taking notice of Sabonis, and he'll be listed a little higher than 47. But 4 in the top 100 for the Kings in ESPN's rankings, Nick, and 2 in the top, and they had Keegan Murray in the top 100.
One of only 2 rookies, in the top 100. Him and Paolo.
I was surprised by that.
Yeah, I think it's great. The other part of it too, by the way, because if you did that exercise last year, I don't know how many Kings you have. You might have 4, right? I mean, I don't know. You'd have Hallie. You'd have Hallie probably instead of Domas.
Was on this list this year.
Hallie would be in there. Buddy Hield made the list. That's another story for another day.
Really?
Yeah, he was
I gotta look that up.
He was like 90 or 91.
I missed that.
He made the list.
I think I started the list at about 50.
But I think Sabonis,
Yeah, he was 90. I'm looking at it right now.
The other part of it, by the way, is the fact that Sabonis has played 62 games, 3 straight years. So, he hasn't been the most durable guy. But I just, when we talk about Domas, what I want to do is kind of appreciate him for his special skills, because he is a different player in a 2022 NBA. It's not a bad thing. Just when you think about your prototypical players that you're starting your franchise with, again, you're likely starting with wings and bigs that can shoot, 2-way players, and some guards. That's really what you're looking at. You're not going to go, unless you're Nikola Jokic and you're just at another level. And again, Jokic shoots threes. Then you'll draft somebody like that if you were doing a draft from scratch. But I think if you did a draft from scratch, I don't think it's crazy to think that Sabonis wouldn't go in the first 50 picks of the draft.
No, I think he absolutely would.
Absolutely. But I don't think he'd be in the top 25 or 30. I think he'd be, close to 50.
And one of the promising things to me, Nick, when looking at these lists is you look at a lot of the guys that are ahead of Sabonis in terms of the NBA rankings, and I think he has a higher ceiling and the potential for his arrow to go up more than a lot of the guys that are on that list ahead of him. A lot of those guys have peaked or are even on their way down from what their peak was. So I think if, again, like you said, if he adds a jump shot in that outside game a little bit, you'll see him climb up these lists. As it stands right now, I'm not too disappointed or upset by where most people have Domantas Sabonis and have him ranked on their lists when it comes to the NBA.
I think he has upside offensively. I think he is what he is defensively. And we have to understand that and keep that in mind, because the fact is he's just not a great athlete. I mean, he plays in the NBA, so of course he's a great athlete compared to me and Ramie. But when you talk about guys,
lateral quickness, man, you don't know me.
You got guys in the NBA, they're just different. And Domas, it's not like you wake up with new explosion at his age. Like he is what he is. He's not super fast laterally. He's not great side to side. He's not going to be a rim protector in the kind of jumping through the roof kind of way. He can block shots by using his body and his physicality and, pushing guys off of the spot. But he's just not going to be that 2022, 2023 NBA defender. And it's not because of effort, because trust me, Dude puts in a lot of effort. He works his tail off. It's just he wasn't given those gifts. It's like being a quarterback and not having a rocket for an arm. You got to make it work. Domas does not have exceptional athleticism or lateral movement, so inherently it limits his ability to defend.